Hey, Bullets families. I know what you're thinking. I know another video. Geez, what's this guy doing? I can even see my daughter Annabelle shaking her head right now. Daddy, you're blowing up GroupMe. Quit doing that. But I have found that doing a video like this is just the most efficient way and clearest way to communicate things to the family. So I will try to make this as brief as possible, but this is important stuff. I realize, just to preface this, that this is just 10-year-old baseball, but I believe that if you outline expectations on the front side, you know what I'm thinking, what I'm trying to do, then it makes the overall process just more enjoyable for everybody. So one thing I do want to address, as I make a note here, is something I alluded to in the GroupMe is just the role of parents and fans, which includes grandparents, aunts, and uncles, in the game itself. First of all, thank you for making just the sacrifice and getting the boys to practice and to the tournaments as we roll into the season. I know that it is a big sacrifice for you guys, and so just a huge thank you for making that possible, and just for being on the team. I've really enjoyed coaching the boys. Practice has been a lot of fun for me. I enjoy seeing just the progress that they have made. It's been awesome. So one thing I alluded to in the GroupMe is what I guess really just my philosophy, kind of expectation, but really I wanted to unpack the why behind this, of why I ask that you only cheer and clap for your player, especially after the at-bat, no matter what happens. And we don't talk to them before the at-bat, and we definitely don't give them any kind of instruction before the at-bat. There's actually studies done on this that when a player, when they're up to bat or in any competitive situation, when they hear their parent's voice, even if it's an encouraging word, it raises their level of anxiety because they associate their parent's voice with just a position of authority and importance, and they're like, oh, the parents' eyes are on me and they want me to do well and succeed, and I know that that's true, and that's pretty much everybody's heart behind it. But when we say things before they come up to bat, especially, it does raise that level of anxiety, which is already there in the first place. Hitting is very hard. If you've not played either baseball or softball before, I highly encourage you to go to the batting cage and try to hit one. Try to hit, even a slow pitch softball is a difficult thing to do, but not to mention a 40, 50, or 60 mile an hour baseball. It is very difficult to do, just to make contact, but especially to actually get a hit. And so what they know that what they're about to do and get up there with the potential of them getting hit by the baseball is a difficult moment. They know that all eyes are on them. They know that the pressure is on them to perform. And if we, even with good intentions, step in and try to say something in that moment, it just raises the perceived importance of that moment. And so I want to try to lower that. I want to try to keep that down and keep it just, hey, this is just baseball. It's fun. Let's get up there. Let's stay focused. Let's just work hard and try to perform while we're at the plate. But I only want them hearing one voice, and that's going to be mine. And what they're going to hear from me, it's going to change throughout the season based on how I see they respond. So I'll test some different things. Some of them don't want to hear a word from me. They'll just get aside and move on. Sometimes, like Brody, we've had this conversation several times. He likes to hear, "You got this, buddy," and that's it. And I won't say another word, and I even won't coach in between pitches, whether they're early, late, anything like that. I will not give any kind of critiquing. Those things are practice. I mean, that's we work on those things in practice. And when it comes to in the field, if we make an error, make a bad throw, and bad decision, mental error, anything that goes on in the field, I'm going to do my best. I won't be perfect. I will say things here and there to not coach during the game, Again, coaching and correction and critiquing, those things are for practice, not for the game. We have to let these boys develop their own way of critiquing themselves and coaching themselves, and the players coaching the other players, and them communicating amongst themselves. For instance, if a ball gets hit to, shortstop and there's nobody on base, and we all know where that ball is supposed to go. Guess what? He knows where that ball is supposed to go too. So there's no reason for anybody to be going 1-1-1. He knows. Let the pitcher, let the second baseman tell him, where he needs to throw that ball, because especially as they progress and get higher levels, that's the only communication you hear on the field, or the players talking amongst themselves. So, as far as them communicating or them hearing you at the plate, that goes for on the field. Especially if you've got a catcher, let's keep all those comments. Oh, good job, way to hustle, anything like that. Ball gets by a catcher, you got to have that one, buddy. That's a more of a negative spin. Guess what he knows? He knows he should have had that. He knows he's got to block that ball or catch it or whatever. We don't have to remind them. It just brings that level up. There is a misconception in youth sports, and we'll just use baseball as an example, that the most common age for a boy to quit playing baseball is age 13. And it's not because they, started playing travel ball at 6 and they've played, 7 years straight of, 60 games every season of baseball. That's not it. Brody would play a baseball game every single day if I let him. He loves it. It's what comes afterwards. It's the critiquing and the coaching on the field, whether a coach is hollering or coming down on the players. It's the parents, in between at bats, in between plays, after the plays, car rides on the way home, which I'll touch on at the end of the video. It's those things that, and this is just observations, hopefully some just philosophy that I'm giving to you guys. Take it or leave it, but this is just what I've seen over time, and just observing and hearing from professional and college players and coaches on what's gone on in their career. So I mentioned it also in the group meeting, but the dugout, the boys need to bring their drinks with them pregame to the dugout, and ideally they don't leave the dugout after that. I really would prefer them not have anything but drinks and maybe some seeds or something like that. I really don't even want any snacks. Those things, they take up time. They're a distraction. I certainly don't want eating a hot dog in the middle of a game, anything like that. Not only is that not really good for your body, but it can be a little bit of a distraction. If they walk out on the on deck circle with a mouthful of a half-eaten hot dog. Let's do those things before the game, in between games, after the game. But also a lot of this is just, as far as the dugout goes, with, them staying in the dugouts, the parents not coming over to the dugouts. We have boys that are 10, 11 years old that they've come up to the point of they're starting to make this transition from a boy to a young man. And I would hope to just to help guide them with, obviously, the parents involved in that, as well as becoming responsible young men. And that's just part of it, of them taking care of their business in the dugout, which means they have everything that they need, and parents aren't coming over to the dugout to check on them between every inning, before they come up to the bat, making sure that they have everything that they need. Now, if you forgot water, or they run out of water and they need a refill, something like that's fine. It's not like absolutely no to come over the dugout, or them go, hey, can you refill my water, and then come right back. Like, that's no big deal. But I want to teach them responsibility and teach them ownership of participating in a game. The best players, that go throughout their career in high school and college, they don't need anybody checking up on them. They have everything that they need exactly, when they need it. 2 more things that I want to cover. One is positions. This first 2 tournaments especially are going to be a little bit exploratory. Half of our team is new, and so I don't know how they're going to perform on the field. I don't know how they're going to perform in the lineup and at the plate. I've seen them in practice, and so I know what their potential is and what they're capable of, but that sometimes is different in the game. Some players struggle in the game where they don't practice. Some players perform even better in the game than they do in practice. I know sometimes that's true for my own son. And so it's going to be a little bit exploratory. So if your son's in a position that you're not understanding, just trust that there's a process, and that there's a reason behind everybody that I'm putting in positions, when I put them in those positions, which games, which teams we play, all that's going to matter. And so just know that up front. If you have any questions, please handle that, with me, in a phone call or practice setting, after a tournament, if there's any kind of questions there. But I would just ask that you trust that I'm doing my best to make sure that everybody's in the position that best suits them for success and will help the team succeed as well. The last thing that I want to talk about, I alluded to it earlier, is a lot of the reason for burnout in this game is because of the pressure that we put on the boys, in kind of the post game, either the post play, post at bat, or post game setting, and that is, hey, why didn't you do this, or why didn't you do that? And we're trying to help them. I mean, our motivation is to try to help them. But there's a way to go about that. This is just how I've done it. I'm not saying you have to do it exactly like this. Develop your own language, your own rhythm. But I stumbled on one day asking Brody at the end of the game, hey, can I coach you for a second? Because I'm your coach, I need to be able to critique you a little bit. And he said, yeah, sure. And so we talked for a minute or two about something that went on in the game. This is a couple of years ago, and then briefly I said, that's it. And I thought about it, and I was like, man, I felt like God just put that on my mind. I said, hey, buddy, when I want to coach you, and just be coach, can I say, hey, can I coach you? And then afterward, just go back to being dad, and you just know that that's not like dad, jumping on you or anything like that. That's just really coach trying to help you. And he said, yeah, that sounds great. And so we've developed that language, for the last couple of years, and it's really seemed to go well. I haven't seen him respond negatively or leave me alone, anything like that. So one other one that I thought was cool is I saw a video the other day of a dad who, when they get in the car, they take their hat off, and he's coach, and he takes his hat off and he puts it on the dash, or actually a lot of times he'll wait for a minute and he'll look up in the rearview mirror, and he'll see his son's hat on, and they've developed a system where if hat's on, they want to talk about the game, then his son wants to talk about the game, and so he'll say, hey, your hat's on, you want to talk? You want to talk about the game? And he'll be like, oh no, actually I didn't. I forgot to take it off. Or yeah, let's talk. And so they'll talk about the game, and then when they're done, hats go off, and he's dad, and they're headed for ice cream. And so that, I think, and that's something that I haven't done, but I'm going to do that moving forward. We got to remember at the end of the day that this is, not only is it a sport, which is supposed to be fun, but this is a youth sport and a very developmental, mentally emotional age for these boys. And we've got to keep things light, and just keep it about, learning and getting better and having fun. And if at the end of the day we go to a tournament and we go 0-3 and it just wasn't our day, but the effort and the attitude were there, you won't get any complaints out of me. It just means that we got to get better. Again, we talked about this before, but if I do see lack of attitude and effort, that's one thing that I will address in game at the moment it happens. I may address it vocally, but more often than not, I will pull the player aside, sometimes pull them out of the game, even if I see a lack of effort or a bad attitude, and I'll sit them down, and we'll either talk about it right then or we will talk about it after the game. And so that's really the only time that any kind of, if you want to call it discipline or consequence from me, that'll happen, in game or immediately after the game, is especially attitude, because attitude is one of those things that you can control, and you can also control your effort. And these boys are old enough. They're old enough to take responsibility for both of those things. And we've talked to them about it, numerous times in practice about controlling their attitude and controlling their effort, controlling how hard they work. And every time we've challenged them with that, I mean, they have responded very well. So I don't, there've been a couple of little bitty things, not even worth mentioning what they are in practice, that we've had to correct some slight attitudes, but really they've been great. So I don't foresee any problems with that, but I wanted to mention it up front in case it does happen. So as always, got any questions, call me, text me. Again, I try to make this as short as possible. I know it's kind of long. Put it on when you can. Please watch it before Sunday. And I will see you guys at practice on Saturday and at the ballpark on Sunday.